Hey everyone, thank you all so much for being here today. I'm Tressa Buckland from Curable's Community Experience Team, and today I am so lucky to be here with Curable user and fan Christina to talk about her recovery. Christina, thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you, Tressa. I love the ability to speak with you. I'm so happy to have this opportunity and talk about one of my favorite things, which is Curable.
Well, we're super excited to hear your story. And if you don't mind, let's just kick things right off. Could you tell us a little bit about when your healing journey started and what symptoms you were experiencing at that time?
Okay, so I remember a really specific time and date when symptoms came on. It was May 22nd of 2015. I woke up and I did not feel okay. I didn't feel normal. And I was really concerned and immediately went to start getting it checked out by doctors. So that's when things started. And overall, it was about a 5-year journey with chronic pain and symptoms.
Wow. So what were those symptoms that made you go get things checked out?
So at first, it was occipital headaches, migraines. I was having a lot of heart palpitations, feeling like syncope, feeling like I was going to faint, racing heart, and just feeling off. I started having reacting to foods, getting rashes, things like that. And then over time, symptoms kept developing, and I was getting more and more symptoms, which we can talk about the development of how that, why that happens. But that was sort of the majority in the beginning, on the onset.
Okay, so as you first start, were you previously healthy before all of these random things started hitting you?
Yes, I was. And actually I was like training for a marathon. I was running. I, was really busy with work and volunteer activities. And I felt fine. I'd never had anything like this before.
Wow. So what were you thinking when things started to shift from acute to persistent and chronic? What was going through your head?
Yeah, I do think that, I started to get very afraid. And you start to feel desperate. You start, you see doctors, you get tested, you see experts, and nobody has answers for you, or you start getting a myriad of different diagnoses, and then all of a sudden it's differential diagnoses. And that creates a lot of panic, a lot of mistrust, a lot of fear.
Yeah, that sounds like a really scary time. And you were seeing multiple doctors trying to get different diagnoses, or sometimes they wouldn't even have anything to share with you. But of the treatments they did recommend, what did you try, and did anything stick?
I tried pretty much everything. I started with a sort of an allopathic approach with Western medicine, and then eventually was trying, more homeopathic or naturopathic approaches. Nothing worked. And, it got to the point where I was on some pretty caustic medications. I did some pretty invasive procedures at sort of the lowest point of desperation that were, invasive, could potentially have been dangerous. And really nothing worked. That was the biggest issue, was I couldn't get any relief. And so, I just started to think either I have some unknown, illness that's never been discovered yet, or I'm going to have to live like this forever. So
that sounds really isolating and frightening.
It is. It was. And I feel for people when, they're in that place, because it's so difficult and very, very isolating. Yeah. You feel alone and you feel like you've lost just a whole part of your life.
Yeah. So when you were in that place, what made you turn the corner? What kind of started you on this upward trajectory towards healing?
Well, I also remember the exact date that I downloaded the Curable app, and it was February 1st of 2020. So I keep really good records of this. It was definitely the Curable app. That is 100%. And so cheers to Facebook for monitoring my Google searches, because all of a sudden an ad popped up in Facebook for Curable, and I thought, what is this? So I looked into it because I'm, curious by nature, but also was reaching a level of just kind of, not knowing where to go at that point, not knowing what else to do for myself, to help myself. And I downloaded it and immediately resonated with the initial steps and information that, Curable gives you about neuroplasticity, neuroplastic pain, the biopsychosocial model, an approach to chronic pain. And as soon as I started hearing the science, the research, and understanding like somatic therapies, what can happen to get to a point where your just brain is in this feedback loop, I thought there's something here for me. So that was it. That was when I turned the corner. Yeah.
Wow. Do you think it was that like scientifically based aspect that resonated with the skeptic in you?
Yes, I tend to be, somebody who I'll have an immediate response to something that might be emotional or, very, like I'll get a feeling about something, or I, work on like a intuition a lot, but then I immediately check myself and I'll go into that sort of, critical thinking, problem solving, skeptic mode. And I'm like, okay, I need facts. I need you to show me the research. I want to like stay in the science. And that was definitely what got me. And then I jumped into the testimonials. I immediately started researching, more about Curable, more about the doctors that had been, part of building the team. I don't know if we're name dropping, but, I watched Dr. Howard Schubner's The Reign of Pain Lies Mainly in the Brain on YouTube. And that was like, it was just, every light was going off for me. So I listened to the testimonials. I started listening to the podcast and just kept giving myself the knowledge, the information, looking at the research behind neuroplastic pain, basically. Yeah.
Nice. So as you were taking this deep dive into the Curable universe and all of the other people in Curable's sphere of influence, were you getting the same type of help for all of your symptoms? Like, were all of your symptoms affected positively by this mind-body approach?
No, not at first.
Okay.
And I know that there's a lot of emphasis in the Curable universe, we can coin that, where it's, it's very particular. It's everyone's individual journey. And that is sort of that biopsychosocial model, is that you're looking at the biology of the person, the psychology of the person, the social environment, the environment of the person in environment. So it can be very, it's very personal, how things develop, how things wax and wane. So not all of my symptoms were affected at once. And it really was, I'd have like, in the very beginning, I'd have this moment of like, I think this is it. I think this is going to work. I think this is me. And then, but just going back, because you can't change your neuroplasticity doesn't normally change overnight. I think for some people, they can have that instantaneous moment. It wasn't like that for me. It was very gradual. But I do remember March 10th of 2020. So I'm giving you dates.
I'm loving the time.
Concrete timeline here. Let me take you to my crime shed, and there's going to be like a full, line of like where I've been on every date. And like one of those whiteboards with red connecting.
With the red yarn. Yeah. Anyways.
I went out for a run, and this was a big deal for me. And I remember I posted in the Curable Facebook group, and I said, I hadn't run in like 5 years. And, you were talking like, at one point when I was really at my worst, I mean, I was bedridden for months. I one time had to take a wheelchair because I literally couldn't walk because of medications I was on and the side effects. And so for me to be able to get out and run again and sort of let go of the fear of my own body and what was happening, it was huge. And that was another point, and that's less than a month where, or no, I guess a little more than a month, where I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. And like, I really knew that I was going to get better.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Those steps are huge. And I love that you keep track of them on your timeline.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, great day.
That sounds like huge strides, literally, because you were running towards finding sustainable healing. But I got to ask, do you ever experience any setbacks, and what do you do when that happens? Because I know a lot of our viewers might be in the midst of a setback or have gone through them themselves.
Yes. So again, it wasn't all just like, well, I started running and then that was it. You know, it took a lot of time. I would say a full year of doing the work of using different modalities of mind body modalities and different techniques. And I also, I did 3 months of neurofeedback. I was, meditating, using biofeedback, deep breathing exercises, a lot of other things that we can talk more about. But yeah, there's definitely setbacks, and things didn't just go away. It was like, I remember I heard Alan Gordon say this once, where he was like, they just sort of melt away and they sort of fade away. And that's really what happened for me. That was my experience, was that things just started to, the volume was getting turned down, and then they would just sort of fade into the distance. And of course, the less attention I paid to them, the softer they got.
Right. I love that. The volume dial.
Yeah. The volume.
Such a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's clear that you've had a remarkable recovery, and I'm wondering if you have any final words of advice or wisdom that you could pass along to someone who is just now starting their healing journey with Curable. What do you know now that you wish you had known then?
So many things. I'm like, how much time do we have? I would say there's some, I want to give like 2 really important like factual points, and then sort of one like gift. Okay. So, yeah. So for the first thing is that if your pain and symptoms are waxing and waning and migrating around, that's a clue that it's neuroplastic. If the onset was during a really stressful time in your life and there was no like acute injury, that's a sign that it's neuroplastic. In the absence of any measurable, concrete infection, tissue damage, or injury, then that's a clue to you that it's neuroplastic pain. And the good news about that is that you can actually do something about it. You yourself, you don't need you don't need another intervention. You don't need a doctor to tell you that you don't need drugs or anything else. Like, you can regain control and empower yourself. The other thing is what can get you in the pain loop and keep you in the pain loop is the anticipation of symptoms, the preoccupation with symptoms, and the fear of symptoms. So sort of to be mindful of what you're thinking about, because that's just keeping you going in this pain feedback loop. And it's really important to be aware of those 3 thinking habits or patterns. And so that's sort of like what I wish I knew, then, that I know now. And I think my sort of parting gift to people is to have a vision for yourself. Visualize yourself well. Have that image and like go towards that. Each one of us has strengths. Each one of us has gone through hard things. Each one of us has overcome hard things, and you can do this. My mantra for myself was, I can get better. I will get better. And I just want everyone to have that for themselves and to see themselves well and to believe it.
Wow. Amazing. I love that. Leverage your strengths. Go for it.
Yes, that's right. Strengths perspective.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Christina, thank you so much again for coming on here and sharing the ins and outs of your recovery with us and with all of our fantastic Instagram followers. And to everyone watching at home, thank you guys so much for sticking with us today and being here to support Christina in her share of her recovery story. Christina is also currently working towards getting her certification as a licensed clinical social worker. So if you would like to follow along and support her professional journey, you can do so at www.sensingtheself.com, or you can follow her on Instagram at sensingtheself. Christina, thank you so much again.
Thank you, Tressa. Really appreciate it.